History has been trying to teach us the same lesson for thousands of years. Almost no one notices it. History contains a mystery. Across thousands of years, every civilization has produced extraordinary individuals. Ancient Greece gave us Aristotle. The Renaissance gave us Leonardo da Vinci. The Industrial Revolution gave us James Watt. The 20th century produced Marie Curie, Nelson Mandela, Steve Jobs, and countless others who permanently altered the course of history. Different cultures, different religions, different economies, different technologies, different opportunities, yet somehow the same phenomenon keeps repeating itself. A tiny fraction of ordinary people achieve extraordinary things. Why? Most people believe they already know the answer. Talent, intelligence, discipline, hard work, luck. But there is one problem. History refuses to cooperate. If intelligence alone created success, every genius would change the world. They don't. If hard work alone guaranteed success, every laborer would become wealthy. They don't. If luck explained everything, then history would simply be random. It isn't. Again and again, history reveals the same uncomfortable truth. People with similar backgrounds often build radically different lives. Two students graduate from the same university. One builds a global company. The other spends decades drifting between jobs. Two entrepreneurs launch nearly identical businesses. One quietly disappears. The other transforms an entire industry. Two scientists possess equal intelligence. Only one changes the course of medicine. If success were merely a collection of personal traits, these differences should be far smaller than they are. So perhaps we've been asking the wrong question. Instead of asking, what qualities do successful people possess? Perhaps we should ask, what mechanism consistently produces success, regardless of who possesses it? Because mechanisms explain outcomes, and history is full of outcomes. Today, we're going to investigate one possibility. What if success is not a personality, not a talent, not even a virtue, but a system, a hidden process quietly operating beneath every remarkable achievement in history? If that's true, then success is no longer mysterious. It becomes understandable, and if it can be understood, it can be learned. To investigate this idea, we need to leave motivational speeches behind and look instead at how the real world actually works. Nature offers an interesting clue. Evolution doesn't reward the strongest animal. It rewards the one that adapts most effectively to reality. Engineering follows the same logic. A bridge doesn't stand because its designer was optimistic. It stands because its structure aligns with the laws of physics. Science advances through a similar process. Hypotheses are proposed. Experiments are conducted. Reality provides feedback. Mistakes are corrected. Knowledge improves. The system repeats. Notice something remarkable. None of these systems depend on confidence, or motivation, or personality. They depend on a cycle, a loop. The same pattern appears in business. Companies launch products. Customers respond. Data reveals what worked. The product improves. The company adapts. The cycle repeats. Even artificial intelligence learns through repeated feedback. It predicts. Reality measures the prediction. The model adjusts. Over time, intelligence emerges. The more examples we examine, the more one conclusion becomes difficult to ignore. Perhaps success has always been less about who we are, and more about how we interact with reality. If that's true, then what does that interaction actually look like? History suggests it can be reduced to 4 surprisingly simple steps. Choose an honest target. Act. Receive accurate feedback. Adapt, then repeat. Simple, but not easy, because almost every failure hides inside one of these 4 links. Let's examine them one by one. The first link is the one most people never question, the target itself. Imagine spending 20 years climbing a mountain, only to discover you climbed the wrong one. It sounds absurd. Yet psychologists have documented versions of this phenomenon for decades. People achieve the promotion they spent years pursuing, only to feel strangely empty. They buy the house they believed would make them happy, only to discover the satisfaction fades almost immediately. This isn't necessarily failure, it's misalignment. Many goals are never truly chosen. They are inherited from parents, from culture, from comparison, from advertising, from expectations that quietly become our own without ever being examined. History, greatest innovators rarely followed inherited maps. The Wright brothers were not trying to become respected bicycle mechanics. Marie Curie did not dedicate her life to pleasing public opinion. Nelson Mandela did not pursue comfort. Their targets emerged from problems they genuinely believed were worth solving. That distinction matters, because attention follows ownership, and ownership creates persistence. You cannot remain deeply committed to a destination that was never truly yours. Success begins not with effort, but with choosing a destination worthy of effort. But even the clearest destination remains imaginary without movement, which brings us to the second link. Action, or more accurately, systems. We've been taught to admire willpower. Movies celebrate determination. Books praise grit. Motivational speakers tell us to simply push harder. But behavioral science paints a different picture. Willpower is limited. It fluctuates with stress, sleep, fatigue, and emotion. Systems don't. Look closely at people who sustain remarkable performance over decades. The writer who produces books year after year. The athlete who trains consistently. The investor who compounds wealth for 40 years. What appears to be extraordinary discipline is often something quieter. Their environment makes the desired action easier than the alternative. James Clear calls this designing habits. Engineers call it optimization. Economists call it reducing friction. Different language, same principle. The most reliable path to consistent action is not stronger motivation. It is better design. Great systems quietly accomplish what heroic willpower rarely sustains. Then comes the third link, perhaps the most neglected of all: feedback. Imagine practicing the piano for 10 years, perfectly. Wrong. Without correction, repetition simply reinforces mistakes. This principle extends far beyond music. Elite athletes watch recordings of their performance. Pilots train in simulators. Scientists publish research for peer review. Businesses analyze customer behavior. Chess grandmasters review lost games move by move. Why? Because reality is the only honest teacher. Neuroscientists describe learning as the brain continuously updating its internal model when expectations collide with evidence. In other words, growth requires error. Not because mistakes are desirable, but because they reveal information. The faster reality tells you the truth, the faster improvement becomes possible. Effort without feedback is not progress, it is motion. And motion can continue for years without ever reaching the destination. The final link is perhaps the most surprising, because it has less to do with being right, and everything to do with surviving being wrong. History. Greatest breakthroughs were rarely obvious beforehand. When the Wright brothers attempted flight, failure was expected. When venture capitalists invest in startups, they assume most companies will fail. When scientists conduct experiments, unsuccessful results are part of the process. The future has always been uncertain. Success, therefore, has never depended on eliminating uncertainty. It depends on positioning yourself so uncertainty works for you instead of against you. Consider the inventor who builds 10 prototypes, knowing only one may succeed. Or the entrepreneur who launches several small experiments instead of risking everything on a single idea. Or the investor who protects against catastrophic loss while remaining open to extraordinary gains. These people are not predicting the future better than everyone else. They are designing their lives so they don't need to. Being wrong costs little. Being right changes everything. That is not optimism. It is mathematics. Now, step back and look at the pattern. A meaningful target. A system that produces consistent action. Rapid feedback. Continuous adaptation. The loop begins again. Suddenly, history looks different. Newton was simply intelligent. He relentlessly tested ideas against reality. Toyota didn't become legendary because of perfection. It became legendary because it built systems that continuously identified and corrected errors. Scientific revolutions were never moments of genius alone. They were learning loops operating over decades. Even evolution itself follows the same architecture: variation, selection, feedback, adaptation, repeat. Success, it turns out, behaves remarkably like nature. It is not an event. It is an emergent property of a functioning system. This also explains one of history's greatest misconceptions. We admire confidence, discipline, resilience, persistence. 2. But perhaps these are not the causes of success. Perhaps they are its consequences. When your system consistently produces progress, confidence naturally grows. When your actions repeatedly align with meaningful goals, discipline feels easier. When feedback continually improves your decisions, resilience becomes almost inevitable. We've spent generations trying to manufacture the feeling, instead of repairing the mechanism that produces it. And that brings us back to the mystery we began with. Why do some ordinary people build extraordinary lives? Not because reality plays favorites, not because they never fail, not because they possess a magical personality, but because, knowingly or not, they align themselves with a process that reality has always rewarded. The hidden principle behind all success is not a virtue, it is a loop. Choose honestly, build systems, seek truth, adapt relentlessly, repeat again and again and again. Extraordinary lives are not built by chasing motivation. They are forged by understanding the invisible operating systems that govern the world. Because technology changes, markets change, careers change, even definitions of success change, but principles endure. So tonight, Don, ask yourself whether you're disciplined enough. Ask a better question. Which part of the loop is broken? Is the destination truly yours? Is your progress powered by systems or by fading willpower? Does reality have permission to correct you? And when you wrong, have you built a life where the lesson costs less than the opportunity it creates? Because once you learn to repair the loop, success no longer feels like luck. It becomes the natural consequence of thinking in harmony with reality. And that may be the most valuable principle you'll ever learn.